Alright everybody, welcome to the Frankly Fabulous Show. As you can see, we're trying a new setup here. Got my Tyco TVC 8000 along with the USB mic. So even if the visual, I'm hoping I can bump up the brightness on this in post. But the exposure on this camera, I've had this camera since I was literally 1997. It cost $50 at Toys R Us. Greatest Christmas present a boy could ever have, because suddenly you're a filmmaker. I mean, it was hard. This was before, HD phones and everything. This was the height of technology. For $50, and the idea is, it's really an ingenious toy. You plug it into your VCR, and then you can record straight to VHS tape. I mean, what could be better than that? It's tethered to your VCR. But it's magical. I mean, I did all kind of skits. Matt TV. I've got a VHS someplace. God, where's Matt TV? That's definitely something that's got to be preserved and uploaded to the internet. God, where is that? I wonder. That was the tape I made with this exact same camera in 1997. I wrote a bunch of skits, sort of Mike Myers inspired. Everything I did was kind of Mike Myers characters-ish. Mike Myers / Dana Carvey sort of, skits, 5-minute long. I did a skit, it was Mr. Heron, my 7th grade homeroom and history teacher. He had a lawn care business. Clark, was his first name Clark? He had kind of a nose thing. Yes, honey. He had a very distinct way of speaking, and so I had a whole skit that was sending up Mr. Heron, Clark Heron, CJ. He had a certain flair. He had a lawn care business, meaning it was just child labor. He was breaking all kind of child labor. Is that libel? I'm kidding. He just had a bunch of kids mowing lawns, and he underpaid. He probably paid them a minimum wage, But, oh my God, huge news today. Huge, epic end of an era. Totally end of an era. Rest in peace, rest in power. The great, one of my personal heroes of all time, Charles Grodin, passed away. Huge, just a giant. A giant of film comedy as far as I'm concerned. He kind of played it under the radar, but he had a very interesting career, and he was kind of, he was kind of too hip for the room. He's in Rosemary's Baby. He's in The Heartbreak Kid, of course, Heaven Can Wait. And he has Real Life, Albert Brooks' first movie, sort of predicting reality television. He's in that. Of course, he's in Midnight Run, we all know. He made a bunch of his own films. Movers and Shakers. I read his memoirs in high school, but of course, people my age, he might be best remembered for one as being the dad in Beethoven, the classic Beethoven films with the Saint Bernard. He's the ultimate kind of slow burn. He just has such interesting ways of getting pissed off and getting annoyed and it's just funny to kind of watch the different variations of Grodin, kind of cranky. You're cramping his style, and the ultimate, I mean, this is one of my family's favorite movies, and it's kind of a cult classic, is Clifford. I don't know, a lot of people, they won't go near Clifford. Clifford was kind of, I would say it kind of ended, maybe it ended their careers, I don't know. In a certain way, which, I mean, it's a great film. It's a total masterpiece. We've all seen it ad infinitum. It's to the point of memorization. It's a masterwork. Charles Grodin absolutely at his Charles Grodin, Martin Short going head to head, and he's the ultimate Clifford, don't touch that, kind of guy. It's a Saint Bernard. This was a whole genre in the 90s. Charles Grodin getting pissed, uptight. his vibe is just, I don't know, it's very interesting. He was supposed to be The Graduate. He got cast as The Graduate because he knows Mike Nichols. You know, it's funny because I was working on my Charles Grodin impersonation. I was going to launch this, like, really hilarious comedy cult impersonation for my SNL audition. I was going to do Charles Grodin. We did not shoot it to Americans in the desert. We did not. But I don't know. Now everybody's going to be doing Charles Grodin. It's going to be cool. He had a little bit of a thing, a career resurgence. He was in Noah Baumbach. He wasn't in movies. He had a talk show on CNBC, which I always thought was very interesting. You'd look in the cable guide. These were the golden days of cable television. This was really the height, the mid-90s, like 91, 92, kind of Ren and Stimpy, Beavis and Butthead era. I mean, before that it was great, too. Don't get me wrong. But the apex, CNBC, there was some highbrow shit on cable. There was Inside the Actor's Studio with James Lipton, which kind of got by on star power. I mean, the star power on that show was just insane because they kissed the actors' asses so hard, and it's so prestigious. I mean, it's the Actor's Studio, right? But that was sort of like a little slice of kind of like intellectual conversational television when I was in middle school and high school and shit. And then there was on CNBC, you'd look in the channel guide, and it was just Charles Grodin. So that's what the show was called. And it's kind of actually exactly the idea I had for a TV show. It's basically the Joe Franklin Show in a lot of ways, because the bumpers are just shot B-roll of New York City and kind of your typical Manhattan, like cabs, Times Square, helicopter shot, everything in the fucking 80s and 90s was just like helicopter shots of like various Manhattan kind of spires, the Woolworth Building or Rockefeller Center, what have you. Even though I'm pretty sure they shot this fucking show in Fort Lee, New Jersey. At one point, that's where the CNBC building was. And at one point, that's what Grodin says. He says something about how they're in Fort Lee. So, they didn't even shoot the fucking thing in New York City. But that's what I wanted to do for the Frankly Fabulous show. Just shoot a bunch of B-roll of, like, the Frankly Fabulous character among Manhattan. Just the most cliched Manhattan shit. Rockefeller Center, Central Park, Broadway, the tourist guide kind of, the Joe Franklin stuff, getting a hot dog at Nathan's Famous, getting a newspaper from the newsstand. I could do that as bumpers for this, But Grodin's show, he's kind of a famous talk show guest because he would do these bits where the audience wasn't really in on it, where he'd play kind of an asshole character, or he'd kind of insult or be cold with like Johnny Carson and shit, and people are just like, what the fuck is it? That was like the joke, was he was kind of this rude guest. One time he went on Letterman and he had his lawyer with him because he was going to sue Letterman for libel. David, watch out for the green vomit. I don't know what to do about my beard. I don't know if I want to. I should get rid of it. I've got a razor. I could get rid of it right now. I just can't let it go. I don't know why. I'm looking at it. I'm just like, why can't I get rid of this? What am I holding on to with this? I need to get rid of like all of my hair because I've got this big rat tail that's developed. Like I seriously just have a big dread that's developed where my fucking what lanyard is or whatever the fuck are these called? These glasses things that are making me go bald, ripping all my hair out. So I need to get contacts. I need to shave everything down. I could do it. It's just like man, I need to adjust this shot. I'm sorry. This is just driving me insane. This tripod's kind of tricky. It's a little bit there. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. I want that I mean, the lighting's terrible. I'm going to try and knock up the brightness in post. Are we still rolling? I want to make sure we're rolling. We're live. 10 minutes. Okay, yeah, I've got this great new program, Open Broadcasting Software or something, systems. And it's designed for streaming, and it's great. I can set up my microphone and my fucking camera in different channels, different USB ports. I was wondering about that. I've got 2 USB microphones now, so theoretically I could do a podcast with multiple, with 2 people, and I could technically get probably good audio with 2 USB microphones if I can get them both to work at the same time. So I'm unpacking my shit. I'm upping my tech setup. Yeah, but anyway, Charles Grodin was kind of a famously, I don't know, he was a great guest. He's kind of a legendary guest because he would do these unbelievable kind of just so doesn't break. He's just so deeply in the commitment to the bit. But and so somehow he got his own talk show on CNBC. I don't know. They give those NBC people, they give kind of weird people talk shows. Like, I don't know, some kind of New York, like a John McEnroe had a fucking talk show on MSNBC, and Donnie Deutsch. Like, Donnie Deutsch is like a Madison Avenue guy or something. Who else? They just kind of give weird people, but that's what's cool about it. I don't know. I wish they'd do that now. So they gave Charles Grodin a shot, and honestly, it was a very interesting. I wish there was more shit on YouTube. I'm kind of surprised that there isn't more. There's a few episodes, though. I watched the first episode where he has Martin Short on, and Art Garfunkel. And they don't talk about Clifford at all. It's kind of interesting. Like, it's right when Clifford came out. They were in that movie. That's how they know each other. And they don't even mention it. It's kind of a bad sign. But it's really funny. It's kind of awkward. Like Grodin kind of thrives on that awkwardness. But he has a kind of cognoscenti quality and a kind of like hipness and a quickness. I don't know. I've always related to him on a deep level for some reason. And in high school, I had his book. I've talked about it before. I've talked about it on the show. It would be so nice if you weren't here. And it's all these kind of show business stories about people he worked with, or, behind the scenes stuff. Chevy Chase gets in a fight with Bill Murray. I think he talked about that. What they're like in real life. But I suppose in a certain way he thinks like a broadcaster or a writer, maybe, with just his kind of loquacious verbal. It's not unlike this, I suppose, in a certain way. He just gets on and kind of riffs about politics. He's liberal as fuck. There's a clip of him on Hannity and Combs calling Sean Hannity a fascist, right-wing fascist. You're a Republican right-wing fascist. And it's like, yeah, he asked Jerry Lewis, one of the episodes on YouTube, check it out, is him fucking interviewing Jerry Lewis. It's fucking awesome, badass. I mean, he's better than 95% of the interviewers on TV. He's not the greatest interviewer I've ever seen or something, but he's pretty good at it. And like he just has great guests, and he lets them kind of talk. And what was the fucking thing with Jerry Lewis? There was he gets Jerry Lewis to tell this story about how Jerry Lewis tried to unionize his workplace he was an usher for Lowe's Theater in New Jersey, Newark, I think. Some big theater in the fucking 30s or 40s or whatever. And he said he got paid $11.55 a week for 7 days a week, 5 hours a day. That's part-time. 7 days a week. Said they got paid $11.55, and he thought they should get $13. So he unionized all of his fellow employees, and they didn't win. He got fired. Everybody else kept their jobs, but, I think Charles Grodin admired that, and that's why he had him tell this. He gets him he's like, tell him why you quit your job when you're, And I think on a deeply political level, he understands. He's a liberal, He was on that side of things. Even though I was watching one episode where he has Lewis Lapham, incredible, of Harper's and editor of Lapham's Quarterly, and Lapham is the best thing on the show by far. So interesting, and he just kind of gets railroaded by these right-wing nutcases because it's the 90s. It's kind of the Gingrich era. That's when Charles Grodin was on CNBC. Is CNBC now? It's like a finance thing purely. But at this time, there was sort of a blur between CNBC and MSNBC where it was like, or I don't even think they had an MSNBC at that point. I think CNBC kind of had a little bit of that because NBC is kind of, on the liberal side of things. But in this, like, they just gave these Republicans like mad airtime, and they just kind of, I don't know, they didn't let Lewis Lapham talk enough. He was saying some really interesting shit about how the government is all show business and, like, it's like Waterworld. They need to spend shitloads of money on these bills, or like Waterworld. Just like the movies, they need to spend shitloads of money on these movies because it gets people talking. They have to compete with Oprah, and it's the only way they can get anything done. I don't know. They didn't really let him. They acted like he was a kook or something, and his voice is incredible. But kudos to Charles Grodin that he would even have Lewis Lapham. The impression that I got from his memoir, and he's written a lot of them. I only read the one. I read it. I remember taking it to school. I got it at the dollar rack, I think, at half price, and that's why I bought it. I was really into show business. I loved Clifford, and he's in Ishtar. How could I forget? How could I neglect to mention the greatest of them all? He's in Ishtar. We did not shoot it. I mean, he's a supporting role, but, like, he's the best. Anything. He's fucking hilarious in So I Married an Axe Murderer. He has an incredibly, this is, when I was a kid, this is how you picked up on these actors. You see them just in little parts, and you're like, that dude is funny as fuck. Like Alan Arkin is in So I Married an Axe Murderer. And he's so funny just in these little moments. You're just like, who is that guy? And then Charles Grodin has this tiny part where he plays this guy where I think it's Anthony LaPaglia is commandeering his vehicle. So he comes up and he goes, hey, I'm a cop. He shows him his badge. I got to commandeer your vehicle. But the joke is that the difference between cops and real life and how it is on TV. On TV, they're doing this all the time. Oh, I'm commandeering your vehicle. And people are just like, sure. They're like, this is a normal thing. So in the movie, he tries it. Cut to who's driving the car. The ultimate slow burn misanthropist crank. Our friend, the master, Charles Grodin. Giving him the ultimate slow burn, skeptical, slitting his eyes. I'm commandeering your vehicle. No. Super low-key. No. And it's so funny. I don't know how he does that. The whole thing is like that. It's just like he's just like, he doesn't hardly do anything at all, and it's just his crankiness is like iridescent. I don't know. And he's versatile. He's in tons of different stuff. He's in Broadway, Neil Simon type shit. He's in The Lonely Guy with Steve Martin. Like I said, he's in Heaven Can Wait. Warren Beatty, I think, cast him. Like Warren Beatty, Elaine May, hip, kind of Hollywood. He's in some shit with Walter Matthau. But he came up. So I read his book because he's from Pittsburgh. So that's maybe one reason I can relate to him. And he kind of came up as in a typical kind of, he was born in the 30s, and he came up doing summer stock and shit. He went to Florida, fucking Miami, University of Miami. He tells some story about how he does Franz Roman's Countryman monologue, which I did in high school as well. It was a very important thing for me, so I think that was one thing where I deeply resonated with Charles Grodin on a cosmic level. We both did the Franz Roman, and it was his audition, I think, at University of Miami. So he went to like a big state school, but then he quit, and I think he moved to New York, and he was a cab driver, And he in his book, he's got his picture of his fucking cab driver's license and shit. And he talks about on his show, he says, when he first moved to New York, I think it was like the late 50s, part of that vibe, that whole kind of beat vibe, just like a lot of the artists I admire. He said when he first moved to New York, he drove a cab 2 days a week. He could afford an apartment. He could afford, to pursue his career as an actor and to go to school. He said he could pay for college, for tuition, working 2 days a week as a cab driver. He said, I don't think young people could do that today. That was in the 90s. That's where his head was at. That's where his priorities were. He did a lot of shit with Simon and Garfunkel, political, anti-Vietnam. He said the thing he was proudest of in show business, he directed this Simon and Garfunkel special during the height of the Vietnam War that was like super anti-war and very poignant and dramatic. It wasn't a comedic thing, Charles Grodin could kind of work. He was supposed to be in The Graduate, with Mike Nichols. I know Mike Nichols. He's in Catch 22 with Mike Nichols. He was like a serious. What the fuck else is he in? I'm having all these. He was like in westerns and shit. He just popped up in all kinds of stuff, But he found his niche as sort of a grumpy, cranky, irritate, No, his voice is great. I don't know why it was so fun to watch. So he came up in the 50s, and he auditioned for the fucking Actors Studio. He talks about that, and I think he had to do it a couple times, and he got in like the second or third year. So he's a member of the Actors Studio. That's sort of a recurring thing recently. My producer was an intern at the Actors Studio. He sent me this book, Strasbourg at the Actors Studio, and it's an incredible building. It's like on 40-something Street, 45th Street. I used to work near there, so on my lunch break, sometime I'd walk by. It's like, holy shit, it's the Actors Studio. From fucking inside the Actors Studio with James Lipton, which I actually didn't shoot there. They shot at New School, which I had no idea what it was at the time. But that's at Westbeth, which I've been walking by a lot recently. But Actors Studio, where James Dean and Marilyn Monroe and Pacino and all of that zeitgeist, that energy of, that technique coming into America during World War II and sort of before, that group theater into, mainstream consciousness with Tennessee Williams and Marlon Brando and Strasbourg and The Godfather and all of that wave, from the 40s until now, really. It's the end of an era. But Grodin, even though he's a comedic actor, he's in Midnight Run with De Niro. He's kind of a character actor in a certain way. He's sort of nondescript. He's not really a leading man, even though he plays the kind of irritated dad a lot. Or Martin Daniels. I'm Martin Daniels. I've got a bomb. For some reason, he kind of looks that part, I guess, in a certain way. Even though he's hip and he kind of has this integrity as an actor, I think because he sort of came up. I don't think he really did off-Broadway type things. I don't remember him talking specifically, not off the top of my head. I think he was before sort of, he wasn't like a Cafe Chino person. But I don't even think he was really like a beatnik, really. I think he was more kind of like a little before that. But he got he was on Broadway and shit. He got a part on Broadway back when, like, you could get a part in a play on Broadway as an unknown and, like, become a star or something. I guess you could still do that, but it's not, I don't know, it's not quite the same. It's not the same culture. Broadway at that point was not this celebrity mega fucking Disney amusement musical complex like it is now. I mean, certainly there were musicals, but, now it's huge budgets, huge ticket prices. It's not a local operation in any sense. It's sort of a tourist attraction. So he came up kind of at an interesting time, and you feel that, I think. He's in the King Kong remake. He talks about that in his book with Jessica Lange and Jeff Bridges and the director. And I don't know, he's just a kind of a... That's one thing he's talking about on his show, is all these showbiz memoirs. Oh, he's reading Betty Davis's daughter's memoir to see what she was like. It's like, really? You have time to read Betty? Like, and then Martin Short was talking about he was reading some Hollywood memoir. It's like, fuck, I don't know. I don't read that many actors' memoirs typically. Not anymore. What's the appeal? What the fuck? That's my, like, my question is, like, why these talk shows, like Johnny Carson, he always has actors on. Like, why? They're not writers. What the fuck? Who cares about? What are they going to talk about? It's a talk show. Have somebody interesting on. Have writers, have thinkers. I mean, not that actors aren't. Actors certainly are eligible to be the guests, I would say. But it doesn't, it's like exclusively actors. Even musicians, like, they don't necessarily talk to the musicians, Did Dick Cavett have a show on CNBC in the 90s? I'm sure he did. Later with Bob Costas. Bob Costas would kind of do deep dish interviews with people. I like that stuff. NBC has a history. The Tonight Show, Jack Parr. Grodin at one point talks about, I was having dinner with Jack Parr this weekend. You can tell he's kind of trying to be in that tradition. I like that. Maybe I could get a job. Why can't I get a job at Rockefeller Center, man? MSNBC. Put on fucking Frankly Fabulous in the evening. I'll do some political shit. You got fucking, take off. Who's the dude? Chris Hayes or whatever the fuck his name is. I could be Kornacki. I could be the viral map daddy or whatever. Put Frankly Fabulous on. We'll have it'll be entertain. It'll be light. That's sort of, Charles Grodin is sort of a master of, like, light comedy. And I think there's something to be said for that. Kind of light, but witty, smart. Kevin Kline is kind of like light. Even Steve Martin is kind of light comedy a lot of times. I mean, The Jerk is not light comedy. Jim Carrey's not light comedy. Even, like, Robin Williams is not light comedy. And not that, nothing against stuff that's not light comedy. Like, we all love Chris Farley. We all love Adam Sandler. And Adam Sandler can do light comedy, absolutely. Punch Drunk Love, that's like light comedy. Or, even moments in his films are light comedy, I would say. But there's some overdrive. I don't know. Beethoven, I guess, is not really light comedy. Neither is Clifford, for that matter. Maybe Grodin is, I don't know. The Heartbreak Kid I saw in high school. I haven't really seen it since, but it's, you'd be hard-pressed to find more film comedies that are more respected and critically acclaimed than The Heartbreak Kid. Directed by Elaine May, one of the pioneering female directors who has an amazing Hollywood career and doesn't get nearly enough credit. Elaine May shaped modern comedy absolutely. You could trace all of it. All of the NBC, all of the, like, whatever actor studio was doing with dramatic or whatever, Elaine May, absolutely. Second City, all of that is Elaine May. All of the Second City people. All of the Charles Grodin's. But, I mean, Elaine May is a female film director, has been directing movies since the fucking 70s. Mikey and Nicky. An absolute master, an absolute genius. One of the giants of modern art. Ishtar. Truth and comedy. It's about truth. It's about truth, man. Ishtar, one of the greatest films ever fucking made. These people, these Philistines don't know what they're getting. They don't appreciate anything great. Anything truly great just goes over the audience's head. But Charles Grodin, it was too hip for the room. Ishtar. That was an example of a film. So yeah, let's pour one out for Charles Grodin. He was a real one. Absolutely. First DMX, now Grodin. But he had a long life, a great, he started in the 50s, driving a cab, taking classes at HB Studio. Not unlike Taylor Mead. I'll bet they had some run-ins at one time or another. I want to take classes at HB Studio. That's one of my goals this year. Fill my dream. Like I said, my buddy, he's my producer. He was an intern at Actors Studio. We're connected to these lineages. We're connected to these traditions. Personally, we extend them. I consider myself a student of these things. Taylor Mead says Actors Studio is murder. But I think it's fun just to be tangentially nearby, and maybe I can exist on a Taylor Mead-ish wavelength in the same artistic community and milieu and, rhizome of networks. Hollywood is here. That's the thing, is the sky's the limit in New York. The biggest jobs, the biggest stars. Bella Hadid, I saw, was in Bay Ridge the other day protesting on behalf of Palestine. I gained so much fucking respect. Holy shit. Bella Hadid, I thought, was just, I had no idea. To be honest, I thought she was Israeli. And I didn't know that she was from Palestine, actually. Which I suppose is, the same thing, kind of in a way. But not, obviously. Was Jesus Palestinian, technically? I was wondering that. But I saw they did a big protest in Bay Ridge. I forget what I was doing. I've just been unpacking and, doing this and doing that. I had work stuff. And then I saw she had shared it through her Instagram and shit. They did this big protest in Palestine. Because honestly, what's happening there is it's a push comes to shove moment. They're forcing this. And they'll cause a war. It might be the time. I don't know. I've heard from various sources, I've heard that the conflict there and whatever, is ultimately going to happen as far as Israel seizing all the land they want and all of the, promised land or whatever is promised to them in the Bible according to prophecy, whatever. I've heard that could last 200 years. We might not see the true culmination of this long drawn out conflict for a couple hundred more years. Maybe it'll be just like give and take for that long. But I don't know. It could also be, I thought with Trump, to be honest, I thought that was like truly apocalyptic. And like, not to, downplay it or anything, but like, maybe they're just, that's something that my dad has talked about a lot, is how the pandemic and Trump and all of this and just everything in this country has been an effort to sort of like reduce our power, reduce our stature, reduce our strength as a population, as a nation. The pandemic is a good example of that, Look what it did to the economy or to businesses or whatever. It killed a lot of people. And I was always like, well, why? Why is that? And he thought, and his point was, well, because then Israel is more powerful. We are sort of their arms dealer and their bodyguard, and I mean, there are definitely people in this country that, like, I mean, obviously, that have come out against it, and but more or less, they're just standing by and letting it happen. I think Netanyahu, I don't follow the politics over there that closely, but it's always crazy shit about, like, I thought he was on his way out, he was done, but then I heard they're supposed to write a new government or something. Like they had 24 hours to come up with like an entirely new government. So it feels like Netanyahu's kind of on his. But with Kushner and with Trump, it felt like. I mean, they were as pro-Israel as of our presidents we're likely to see. I would say in our lifetime. To be honest, like Netanyahu is Kushner's godfather. Like it doesn't really get any more. So I I don't know if you'll ever see a president that's more pro-Israel than that, to be honest. So I don't know. It leaves us in a weird place. Like now, Biden is, but over the past year, Israel has been doing more and more provoking actions, killing the dude in Iran from a fucking satellite gun or whatever it was, blowing shit up, blowing up. Now they're, attacking media buildings. They're blowing up fucking. It's like no one is going to step in and stop them. How far are they going to take it? Is Netanyahu driving it because he sees he's on his way out? I mean, the whole Epstein, Trump, Maxwell. I mean, Ghislaine Maxwell is kind of involved with, her dad was involved with the Israeli government and whatnot. And so, is this situation just coming to like a head and they're going to push it as far as they can, and that's what we're seeing? I mean, it's possible there could be a war there in a big way. This is as bad as anything I think that we've seen probably in, I don't know, that I can remember. Maybe in the 90s or something, like some shit happened, but like that I just don't really, remember that well. But this is like pretty direct. It's ongoing. Uh, and like, I couldn't believe when I saw Bella Hadad in that, sharing that, like, that was huge to me. I have so much respect for her, like, more, and it's a personal thing for her, obviously, but like, I think few celebrities have actually done shit on that level, to be honest. Because that's like a super sensitive issue. And to even come out in any way. Like, we understand that, like, the reason why Israel was created. And, like, that's what's so crazy about the issue is the sympathy for, the horrible, persecution and murder that occurred, many times throughout history, but particularly during World War II, the Holocaust. Israel was sort of a reactive gesture to that. They're saying, it was that's the way that I see it. I mean, maybe there were political things here and there that like made it time for that to happen. Maybe oil had something to do with it. I don't know. There was a lot of shuffling in regimes and things in that region from the 20s on, I would say, with, British Petroleum or whoever installing Shaws or taking people out, or, this or that. Iran, of course. And so maybe Israel was some kind of strategic foothold, or I don't know. Maybe it has its advantages to the white people in America too, for some reason, Uh, in fact, they seem to say that it does. If you watch Pat Robertson or you watch any of the super Christian conservative content, they're all pro Israel, Republican senators make trips there and stuff. And so it was created as sort of a sympathetic, sort of apologetic, and like rightful to some degree. I mean, okay, this is the story in the Bible. That was their land. And they've been roaming ever since. So they want their land. That's the way that they see it. But it's become, I think, it's become systematized like a lot of organized religion stuff, and it's a brainwashing. I meet people in New York all the time who, all the time, New York and Israel are like mirror images in a way. I mean, I've never been there, but they're very intimately related and connected, and they balance each other. There's a lot of back and forth, and I see that a lot of younger people are just brainwashed about it. They go to Tel Aviv or they go party there, and they have a great time and they love it. They go to kibbutz or whatever, where they get a paid trip, and it's sort of a propaganda trip, to get them hyped about it. Just like they do with Christians where I'm from. Christians, they go on these mission trips to Costa Rica or wherever, where they build, and it's like, it's a bonding thing. We're all going to sing the songs, and, youth group. They want your whole social, because they're orienting your values and your whole lifestyle, your whole everything. And so you meet, I mean, all the time. You meet people that have lived in Israel. This girl I went on a date with a couple weeks ago literally was in Tel Aviv for the pandemic. She grew up there, and she's a cool person, but like a lot of people that I meet who are like that, it's a complicated thing. To be honest, I've never really gotten into it that much, specifically. It's kind of a touchy issue, I suppose. And I generally just try to be positive about it. Like, personally, of course, like, the policies and the techniques of the state of Israel are intense and indicative in microcosm of settler colonialism and apartheid and all of the bad things that it was sort of created against. That's what's so fucking weird about it, is it's become like this police state, like fascist military powerhouse that's all about violence and all about displacing these people and persecuting them and slaughtering them. It's like that's the opposite of why it was founded. It was founded because we don't want that to happen. No one, deserves that. Everybody deserves peace and life and to live their own way. And so, after thousands and thousands and thousands of years, you know, or I don't, maybe not that. How many thousands of years? Few thousand years. How long? 5,000 years? When did all that shit happen with Moses and stuff? I don't even know. Abraham, did they get kicked out with Abraham, or was that later? Cain and Abel? Is that what it was? When did this happen? What's the specific grievance here? And so, like, I'm not like gonna be some huge outspoken, like, just gonna, you know, talk shit about Israel because, like, I know a lot of people. I meet people and, like, they're. But you can see how that that part of their imagination is a little bit one-sided and, like, completely malformed because, like, they're just like, we were sitting in this pho restaurant once and this woman starts just talking about, she interrupts our conversation and you can tell she's a total, like, New York Post reader. I forget, it was something about security and how there's just too much security because of anti-terrorism. She's like, you don't know what you're talking about, we need this and Trump's great and blah blah blah. And she was like, her point of view is she's thinking about it because she's from Israel. Like, they have bombs blow up there and shit. And, like, the issue is so. I mean, it's complicated and it's not. Like, it's not complicated in that, like, they don't have any right to do what they're doing and commit violence, and they're becoming what they are against. But it's also complicated because it's like, in their head, they are thinking, well, this is we're just, we're the ones who we're the ones who are under attack here. So, when the Palestinians fight us back in Hamas, we have a right to defend ourselves. It's like, it's not a balanced thing at all. Like, these people don't even have drinking water. They're throwing rocks and shit. Israel has one of the most advanced military fucking things in the whole world. They got nuclear weapons and it's scary. It's just freaky. Like the mandatory military service and just like it is sort of an uncomfortable thing to come up. It's not uncomfortable, but, like, when it comes up in conversation, you can't. I mean, like, how do you talk about that in a casual way? Like, when people just bring up, oh yeah, I did my mandatory 2 years. I have met many people in New York that had a mandatory military service in Israel, and it's like, that's pretty. I mean, if you disagree with their policies, how do you respect that? I mean, not that I don't, like, it's just there's a special dispensation there that on everybody knows that there are. It's not anti-Semitic to criticize these policies, and there are a lot of conscientious Jewish people who are part of the protest and who are against these policies, are against what the state of Israel does. Like, anybody who's reasonable can see it that way. But we just sort of let it happen because there's a special relationship or whatever. And this is a they're pushing it. I wouldn't be surprised if they push it to the limit, to be honest. They've been making a lot of moves that indicate that that's what might happen. I don't know. They've been flirting with doing shit to Iran. Uh, in a way that indicates that like they care less and less about. Nobody's gonna stop them. Who's gonna stop them? You know. You know. You're gonna stop us. Hey, we're gonna keep doing this until nobody's gonna do shit. You want to start a war. The whole thing could just. So, I mean, we think that the vibe right now is that we're sort of emerging from the world crisis. At least that's how it is here. A lot of people have booked tours. 2020, I keep seeing 2021 tour. This band is on their 2021 tour. I haven't seen exactly when Broadway is going to reopen, but I think they're moving it up. I don't think it's going to be September. I think it's going to be like pretty soon. I think that's all a little premature. I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe they've got it under control here. It seems like the cases are down. Other parts of the world, it's still very much India, and it's so that could affect us. Who knows? Who knows? It's nice that we get to live in this period where it feels like things are going back to normal and we can enjoy. Like, I've been on a number of dates recently that haven't really. The best one was with the girl from Israel. We had great chemistry. And I texted her last week, and I didn't really handle it properly, but, she might be having a hard time. I don't know. It makes it a little awkward. Kind of, like, right? I mean, maybe not. Like, it's kind of hard to. Yeah, your country's like bombing innocent people in an unprovoked, and you're like, are you cool with that, or how do you feel about that? It's awkward. It's a little awkward. Because I'm against it. In fact, I was gonna go to the protest. I don't know. Manhattan kind of counterweight. It's a counterweight to Israel, or it's a counterpart. They're twins in a way. Or maybe ancestors. So I don't know, it's nice to. For me, it's a little weird because I've been unpacking, so I have things in the apartment. Like today was a completely gorgeous day. I went out with this girl last night. It was great. She was great. She should have a podcast. Because she was just, I could tell that the way that she was, avoiding the fact that she wasn't that interested was just by interviewing me. She just kind of asked a lot of questions. And these girls, they all kind of have a protocol. They come, they have 2 drinks, and then that's it. They stay for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And it's systematic completely. You can tell she finished her first drink really fast, but then she waited for me to be done. I paid for the first one. We were going to go to Art Bar, but I walked by. She had this thing in her profile. She was really cool. I thought she was a really cool person, but she was probably too tall. I could tell she probably just thought, this guy's not tall enough for me. It's pretty much that simple, to be honest. As soon as they show up and you're like, I think I was probably only 1 or 2 inches taller than she was. And so it's just like, that was the end right there. And we had a nice conversation for 2 hours. But it was just clear that, like, I was not really in consideration. I think she enjoyed talking to me. She got so Art Bar was closed, which I'm still wanting to. That's one of the advantages of living in this neighborhood. I get to have all these great dates, try all these beautiful, and there's still some. I mean, this Johnny's Bar on Greenwich Avenue is amazing. I love it. I mean, maybe for women it's not the most glam place because it's a total dive, but it's an amazing kind of time warp. It feels like, the 40s or something in there. I mean, it is a gnarly ass wood $5 Rolling Rock. We got whiskey and ginger ale. It was delicious. I mean, she was a ginger. Not that I use it. I don't really use that term. I don't really like that term. She had red hair. But she was late. So she had this thing in her profile, about how she's late to shit. So I kind of expected it, But she texted me. She kept, texting me she's going to be late. So I walked by Art Bar. It's closed. So I didn't want to go to Johnny's Bar, but it was like, there's a lot of places around there, but they're all very expensive because it's the West Village. So, we could go to Anfora, but a glass of wine is $15. Or we could go to, even Corner Bistro beer is $8.50 or something. All of that shit around there is like that. So, Johnny's Bar it was. And it's right down 8th Avenue. I can just slide right down 8th Avenue, boom, shoot over on Greenwich, and it's right there. It's got this great old fucking neon sign, this neon orange sign. It just says bar. Perfect. To the point. 3 letters, Bar. $5 Rolling Rock. $7 for a whiskey ginger. Beautiful. So I bought the first round, $16 with tip. They got a nice little patio. They got some interesting characters. There's this guy that kind of dresses like a cowboy kind of guy. It's like that fucking movie On the Bowery. It's like one of those type. Beautiful, beautiful place. But it's not necessarily what every woman's dream is. But, if you're coming on a date with Frankly Fabulous, I'm trying to set you up for the right vibe. This is who I am. I'm a Johnny's Bar type guy. And if you're not a Johnny's Bar type person, we're probably not going to get along because I can't afford anything else. I don't know. There's other places I want to try. Art Bar, like I said, and other places in the Village, or I'd even go to East Village or downtown. I'd go to Soho. There's a lot of places that I'd be willing to try, and I look forward to that. I went to Times Square this weekend on sort of an exploratory mission. Should I talk about that? I'd like to get more involved. I didn't really interact with anybody. I just kind of went on like a sightseeing, people watching. That's my theme of the week. I've been people watching. So I went on a people watching excursion. I'm still like, are people really going out? Like, I wouldn't go like dancing or like into a club or even a bar. I would go maybe sit on a patio with like a friend. But I'm still even a little wary about, like, interacting with strangers or, like, at Times Square. I was just kind of walking around looking at the patios and shit, the patio people, to see what this was about. Because I've been hearing a lot of hype and shit, and I just wanted to see it. There's a lot of skaters, and those kind of people dig that vibe. They think it's cool that, there's all these guys skating. Cool, okay. This is cool. There's dudes skating. That's like Cuddy. And maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe I'm just lame. I suppose I am. But, am I ahead of the art curve or am I way behind? Probably way behind. I don't think I've ever been on the art curve, to be honest. Now I'm sort of interested in it, so I picked up on it. But I was people watching. What the fuck was I doing? Oh, yeah, so this Tinder date. It's not Tinder, it's Hinge. You got to get on Hinge. It's the greatest. I don't know. We had a nice conversation. The beard thing. I don't know what people think. I know that it's not what I look like in my pictures, so it's not really fair to them, I suppose, for them to show up and this is what they... It's like, I didn't order this. It's like getting a pizza with the toppings you didn't really. It's like, wait a minute, this was supposed to be a cheese pizza. You put like fucking like pepperoni and sausage and peppers and shit on this, like, or pineapple and ham maybe, or whatever. What is this? Mushrooms? I suppose this is like, if you're not into mushrooms, and a lot of people aren't, and it's not what you order. I don't know. So I haven't been having a super shitload of luck with the beard. There hasn't been any huge indication that it's like helping me. And the other thing I'm self-conscious about is my tooth is kind of fucked up from smoking. I've got like a little bit of a cavity in the front of my tooth, so it's kind of gnarly and like brown and shit. And then I'm going bald. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if, like, these chicks are just like, wow, this dude's some broken down, middle-aged fucking hobo. I thought I was going to go with some, young, strapping tech, stallion, armadillo, some 6 foot tall. And here's, I'm on a date with is there a hobbit that had a huge beard? A gnome? I literally look like a troll. Or I don't know. All I can think of is Jonathan Rhys Davies in Lord of the Rings. I don't know. I got the razor. I could get rid of it right now. I can't let go. I think it looks cool. Every time I look in the mirror, I'm like, this is luscious. I mean, it's not necessarily who I am. I don't picture myself as this at all. But I don't know. I don't know why I can't get rid of it. It probably wouldn't even take that long, to be honest. I could do it right now. I don't know why I don't. Yeah, we had a nice conversation. We had 2 whiskey gingers, so I bought the first round. She bought the second round. And she was cool. She was just like very inquisitive. I don't know. I gotta film these dates. I gotta put it in my profile. Like, hey, I make a reality show. I need to film these dates. It was kind of. I mean, she basically just asked me a bunch of questions. I could tell that was like her way of not really being that involved. We had some nice moments. There was some moments where it seemed like there might be some chemistry. I don't know. Like, I go on a lot of dates where I really enjoy the other person's company, and, like, I'm attracted to them, and yet it's amazing how easy it is for them to just walk away, and they don't even care. They don't even care if they ever fucking see you again. A lot of the dates I go on are like that, to be honest. The girls, it's just like they don't give a fuck at all. No, that was nice. Okay, see ya. I don't need to do anything with this guy. I don't need to, I'll give him a hug at the end. That's it. I'm more in the mindset today of taking it slow and like just letting it happen. I'm not trying to like. I don't want to go be out of bounds or anything physically, so I'm being way laid back about that stuff. Unless there's huge indicators of interest, like the one girl, it was kind of clear that she was down. This girl put her mask on. As soon as we got up, so I was like, okay, well, there's not going to be any possibility of, like, a make out here. She masked up, so that's an indicator of the hug. And she would have been fine just walking to the train by herself, to be honest. I kind of, like, pushed it a little far. I didn't push it, but, like, it was on the way back to my place, so. But she would have been. It's just like, I don't know. I don't get it. Because, I don't know. That's one thing that's amazing about Tinder dates. It is a special bond that you share with the person forever. I cherish all my Tinder dates. Even if. And to be honest, like, what? 80% of them you don't do anything with physically at all. Like, you just go out. You kind of. I haven't had, to be honest, any really. I've only had a few really bad ones. There was a French girl I went on a date with in Bushwick, And I don't know. To be honest, even when I didn't have a beard or long hair, girls sort of always acted underwhelmed when they saw me. And it's like, it's a height thing. It's completely a fucking height thing. Like, as soon as you show up and you're not 4 inches taller than they are, their interest just completely goes away. And that is just a fucking shame. I just don't get that, Like, that seems like something that they could be talked out of. And if there was a mass movement to, like, because so many things I feel like are conscious about trendy shit that chicks go after. I don't know, not to be blunt, but like, I think if it was like society, like, because in high school, to be honest, it wasn't about height at all. I don't remember any kind of like being considered unattractive because I was, and then as I felt like as soon as I got out of high school, it was like, whoa, guys are just hot because they're 6 feet tall. It doesn't even fucking matter what their personality is like or anything. It's like, oh, this guy's 6 feet tall. Oh, wow. Girls act like little girls around guys that are 6 feet tall. Like, just trying to, like, get them to, like, haha, aren't I cute? It's like, why? Just because the dude is 6 feet tall? I feel like they could be talked out of this societally. If there was just a mass re-education campaign to be like, look, there's other qualities that are perhaps more important. In fact, guys can be really sexy if they're like 5'7". I find myself to be, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but like, I'm an incredibly sexy man. Like this girl yesterday, would it have been awkward that we're like almost the same height? I don't think so. There's a lot of tall dudes in New York, though. So, those guys clean up simply because they're 6 feet tall. If you're 6'2", oh boy, look out. Just because they're 6 feet tall. It's unbelievable. I find myself very well proportioned. I'm a very sexy man. And I'm interesting. So that seems to have, like I said, the girls had the same fucking reaction to me. Even when I was like clean cut and had, really, when I gelled my hair, even when I wore contact lenses. Well, I don't know. Maybe I should get contact lenses again. I'm a pretty handsome dude. Or I was. I don't even know anymore. I have to see what's going on under all this. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm middle-aged and rough. She was only 30, which I'm like, why is she trying to go on a date with a 36-year-old? But hey, I don't mind. But, I don't necessarily look my pictures. Probably I look, probably pretty worse for wear. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Like all of the girls I've been on dates with, I really had pretty nice time. The one girl I went to the Yankee game with, she wasn't really that. I think maybe she did hate the beard. I don't know. But the other girls I had a really nice time with, to be honest. And I think they had a nice time too. I just, maybe they weren't attracted to me because I have a big nasty ass beard. It doesn't seem like I'm a few years behind the curve. If I would have had this beard in 2015 or something, I would have like absolutely slayed with it. Whenever it was when beards were like hot, there was a period where it was like that's all you fucking needed. It was like a heyday for big fat dudes because like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be, body shaming or whatever, but like they did better than they should have because like suddenly you're just like a big dude with a huge beard. It's like, wow, you're such a man. You have so much testosterone. You've got this fucking massive, huge, So I'm kind of late to that party. I'm like 5. Now I just look. Now every time. January 6th. The insurrection. That was like the time when I was like, oh my god. My beard is, it's gotta go. I look like one of these guys. I look like fucking Shaman. A QAnon Shaman. Remember QAnon Shaman? Jesus Christ. What a twisted world that was. Thank God we don't have fucking Trump as the goddamn president. Holy shit. You can't say it enough. Hallelujah. 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 Donald Trump. I feel like we haven't really gotten to celebrate. We really need to party all fucking summer long. That's frankly fabulous. DJ of the streets. Poet of the streets. That's my motto. That's my bumper sticker. Party all fucking summer long. Because, hey, we beat COVID. We beat Trump. We got money in the bank. We got a 2-bedroom. Things are, better than they were. And thank God, I'm really happy. I've been really happy the past couple months since I've gotten here, to be honest. To be honest, it's been, not to jinx it. That's just one reason why I don't want to shave my beard, but like it's been one of the happiest periods of my life, actually. I feel like my body is like bulging with great feeling. To be honest, really. I feel so lucky. Like it's amazing that it's a combination of factors, but like this place first and foremost, it's amazing what that does for you. It's amazing light. It's an amazing place. It's a humanizing completely. And now I have all my stuff. It's just like I feel fucking great. Like thank you. I feel like I'm on fucking acid all the time. Like my bones just feel like full of light and pleasure. Like I feel amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so grateful. Please, thank you. Here's to, everyone else's happiness and recovery. Oh my God. Rehabilitation by celebration. Party and relaxing. Connecting. People have already started doing in-person events. There was a bunch of readings last weekend that I couldn't find anything about because I'm not hip. I didn't get invited to anything. I'm behind. I'm behind already. I don't know about anything that's going on. I haven't booked anything. Nobody's calling me. Hey! So, I gotta book my own shit. My friend's coming to town from LA, so I want to do a reading. Hopefully, maybe I'll set that up May 27th. I'm trying to set up a reading. Outdoors. I'll get my PA. I'm getting my portable PA. So I'll be hitting the streets. Alright, maybe we'll pause. Finally taking this show on the road. Maybe I'll pause and then restart it because I just want to make sure it's working. And this is a test. This is the Charles Grodin Show. Rest in peace. Dedicated to Charles Grodin. We love you. We'll be back with part 2 of the Frankly Fabulous Hour. The Frankly Fabulous Conversation. I'll be reading some of my new, from my new works, my new diary pieces. Don't you dare miss it. And we'll change up the angle, too. We'll see something different for a change. We'll be right back.